On Thursday, October 25th, the sun rose at 8:01 in the morning, and I was able to take some pictures of the Corfu old fortress lit by the golden morning sun. As scheduled, the Seven Seas Mariner docked in Corfu at 8 in the morning, so right after breakfast we were already boarding the tour bus that would take us to the village of Gasturi, 8 kilometers from the town of Corfu, to visit the Achilleion Palace built by Empress Elizabeth of Austria in 1891 as her summer residence. Elizabeth named this residence Achilleion, honoring her favorite Greek hero Achilles. The palace is filled with paintings and statues of Achilles, both in the main hall and in the gardens, depicting the scenes of the Trojan War. One of the 4 bronze muses holding 4 torches that adorn the second-floor balcony. A statue of Empress Sisi greets the visitors as they enter the palace. An amazing fresco called The Four Seasons adorns the ceiling of the reception hall. Also in the reception area, you will see the staircase with the bronze railings that lead to the upper floors of the palace. To the side of the impressive staircase are the statues of Hera and Zeus. Also at the great staircase in the main hall is a giant painting of the triumphant Achilles dressed in full royal military regalia and erect on his racing chariot as he pulls the lifeless body of Hector of Troy. A Catholic chapel is located on the ground floor, adorned by a lovely portrait of the Virgin Mary. Sisi used to refer to this painting as the Star of the Sea, in reference to a storm in which she was in danger on one of her many voyages. Sisi's portrait at the age of 21. Sisi in her 50s.
You're going to see some beautiful jewelry. They say that there are copies of Sisi's jewelry. I insist that they are real fake jewelry.
This room holds furniture from Sisi's bedroom, including wardrobes and mirrors, a desk and other items. The Achilleion Palace overlooks the town of Corfu and the views are spectacular. I enjoyed all the statues located on the nicely kept gardens, such as the two bronze runners, the wounded Achilles, and Achilles triumphant, of course. Achilles, as guardian of the palace, he gazes northward towards the city. The inscription in Greek reads, Achilles. It was commissioned by Kaiser Wilhelm II. The statue of Lord Byron. The centerpiece of the garden is a marble statue on a high pedestal of the mortally wounded Achilles. His face is full of pain. Hero is forever trying to pull Paris's arrow from his heel. The runners. Arion being saved by the dolphin. Marble statues of the 9 muses adorn this courtyard. Then it was time to say goodbye to Sissy's summer residence. German Kaiser Wilhelm II was also fond of taking holidays in Corfu. Having purchased Sissy's residence after her death, he had this bridge built to access the beach. The Ponticosini Island is home of the monastery of Pantocrator, 11th or 12th century. The Blakerna Monastery. The old fortress which we visited later in the afternoon. The Hotel Corfu Palace. The Ionian Academy. The island of Corfu is known for its rich scenery, numerous olive groves, turquoise waters, rugged mountains, hidden coves, and miles of sandy beaches. Corfu town is the capital of Corfu and the historic and recreational center of the island. During our afternoon visit of Old Corfu, we had the opportunity to admire the Palace of St. Michael and St. George, the Spyridon Church, the Esplanade, and the Old Fortress. Let's enjoy the tour.
We have almost to start the Liston, okay? So, parallel to this one, at the end of the arcade of the Liston, you have a street full of shops, okay?
After we said goodbye to our tour guide, we started our own walking tour of picturesque old Corfu. Our first stop was St. Spyridon's Church, built in 1596 to house the remains of Corfu's patron saint. St. Spyridon's mummified remains are kept in a silver coffin and are carried in a procession 4 times a year. The old town is a labyrinth of narrow streets paved with cobblestones, sometimes tortuous but colorful and clean. These streets are known as Cantonia. The Liston Promenade, with its majestic arcades, is located on the west side of the esplanade. It was built by the French in 1807-1814, and in those days only the aristocrats had access to. Now it hosts the most expensive cafeterias and bistros. The Palace of St. Michael and St. George was built by the British Lord High Commissioner of the Ionian Islands. It served as the High Commissioner's residence, but was also the home of the Ionian Senate and the Order of St. Michael and St. George. The foundation stone was laid on St. George's Day in 1819. Today the palace houses the Museum of Asian Art of Corfu. The 2 gateways which flank the palace are the Gate of St. Michael and the Gate of St. George. The statue of Sir Frederick Adam, a British governor of Corfu, is at the front of the palace. The esplanade is an impressive square divided into 2 parts that happens to be one of the largest squares in Europe. Cricket matches sometimes take place here. I captured this panoramic view of the esplanade from the old fortress. The Union Monument, located in Esplanada Square, commemorates the union of the Ionian Islands with Greece on May 21, 1864. After the French were defeated and Napoleon fell down in 1814, Corfu and all the other Ionian islands were occupied by the British for 50 years. Finally, on May 21, 1864, Corfu and all the other Ionian islands were united with Greece. The statue of German Marshal Schulenburg, who defended the city in the siege by the Turks in 1716. The old fortress dominates the east side of the city of Corfu. It is the city's most characteristic monument and is linked with the most important phases of its history during the Byzantine and post-Byzantine periods. It is built on a naturally strong site which, for reasons of defense, was converted from a peninsula into an island by the digging of a channel during the 15th century when the Venetians ruled Corfu. The fortress held out in 1537 during the long siege of Corfu by the Ottoman Turks, who attempted on several occasions to conquer the island, though without success. In 1864, when the island was united with the rest of Greece, the fortress was put out of commission. The central high point of the citadel rises like a giant natural obelisk, complete with a military observation post at the top and with a giant cross at its apex. Views of the Bay of Garitsa from the old fortress. At the foot of the observatory lies St. George's Church, in a classical style punctuated by 6 Doric columns, as opposed to the Byzantine architectural style of the greater part of Greek Orthodox churches. The lighthouse atop the land tower. The cross atop the land tower.
Χάρη στα μάτια του γαμπρού που διάλεξα τη νύχη. Χάρη στα μάτια του γαμπρού που διάλεξα τη νύχη.
A 1684 mortar from the Serenissima Republic of Venice restored in Trieste, Italy. A 1735 cannon. Ancient tripod crane in use between the 16th and 17th centuries to load cannons, mortars, etc. View of St. Spyridon's Church Tower. Panoramic view of Corfu's old town with the esplanade in the foreground and the Corfu harbor where the Seven Seas mariner was docked and waiting for us. The new citadel is a huge complex of fortifications dominating the northeastern part of the city. In view, the sea tower, and just below it, the British Hospital.
The far coast we see over there is supposed to be Albania.
Ένα τραγούδι θα σας πω απάνω στο λεμόνι. Να ζήσει νύφη κι ο γαμπρός και συμπεθέρει όλοι. Να ζήσει νύφη κι ο γαμπρός και συμπεθέρει όλοι. Ένα τραγούδι θα σας πω απάνω στο κεράσι. Τα τρογενό που έγινε να ζήσει να γεράσει. Τα ανδρογενό που έγινε να ζήσει να γεράσει.
Then it was time to say goodbye to Corfu's old town and to return to the Seven Seas Mariner. Just before we headed to the Compass Rose restaurant for dinner, we enjoyed the sun setting as we sailed in front of the Albanian coast.
Albania.
At the Compass Rose restaurant, enjoying a 5-course dinner.